How do you improve your cardio without doing high impact exercise? That's exactly what we want to discuss with you on this week's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast. We're going to cue our introduction and dive right into this conversation. Hey, welcome back everybody to the Exercise is Health podcast, brought to you by Muscle Activation Schaumburg. We're your hosts, Charlie
and Julie.
And today we're discussing this idea of improving your cardio without doing high impact. A lot of people have reservations or really good reasons for not doing high impact because it may bother their joints or it just doesn't feel good for their body. So high impact activities, high impact exercises, which a lot of kind of cardio based exercise does lend itself towards that. So how do you go about improving your cardio if you find yourself in that camp of like, I would run, but it bugs my knees, or, anytime I do squat jumps or burpees or, other stuff to, this, the cross-training stuff to try to improve my cardio, it just flares up my joints. How do you go about improving your cardio if that's the case for you? And we want to let you know that if you want to start taking action on what we're talking about today, that's exactly what we can help you with at our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg, where we specialize in muscle activation techniques. So all you need to do to see our availability and get on our schedule is go to our website, www.matschaumburg.com, click the big green button that says Get Started, and you can schedule yourself for your initial MAT consultation and assessment. All right, so this idea of improving your cardio without needing to do high impact activity. This is really important for a lot of people. And it can be really important for a few different reasons. One, if you feel like your joints just can't handle high impact activity, then listen up, this is for you. Number two is if you feel like you are carrying around more body weight than you would like, then listen up, because this can be for you. Because, the more mass you are carrying around, if you're doing higher impact stuff, that would be more stress on your joints. Number three is if you just are fearful or scared or have had bad experiences doing more high impact activity because of how it's made your body feel. But you know you still need to improve your cardiovascular function, your cardiovascular fitness, get your cardio in. How do you go about doing that? That's what we want to talk with you about today.
That's right. And when we're talking about cardio, a lot of times people think about things that are impactful, right? They have a lot of impact. And so I hope that at the end of this podcast, you have like some really good ideas. I'm like, oh, that's how I could do it, right? So we're not really going to be talking about like the jump roping or the jogging or the jump squats or the running or, all the other high impact exercises that are really good at challenging your cardio. Those are actually amazing cardio exercises. But when we think about cardio, really the goal of cardio is to work your body so that it challenges your heart, right? We always want to feel like, oh, I'm out of breath, or my heart rate's up, or I got sweaty, right? That's like the telltale, oh, that felt like good cardio signs. But without that hitting the ground hard. But I do want to give a quick caveat, is that sometimes if you have one impact exercise that doesn't feel that good on your body, it doesn't mean blanket statement you shouldn't do the others, right? I always feel like it's worth a shot to give things a try, right? So like if you don't really like how jogging feels on your body, it doesn't mean that jump roping is also going to feel bad. Because we always want to keep as many exercises in our exercise library or our exercise cabinet as possible versus start crossing them off. But here are some really good ways to get in cardio that don't involve that impact into the ground with repetition. The first one, which is probably the easiest one to do, is to get on a cardio machine that doesn't have, well, basically that is not a treadmill. So for example, today I started building some cardio exercises with one of my clients, and we use an arc trainer, which is like a specific type of elliptical type thing, right? So your foot is never really leaving the pad. And we started increasing in two ways. You can increase speed or you can increase resistance. I highly recommend increasing resistance if you feel like I would prefer to not do millions and millions of reps with speed, maybe from joint wear and tear or something. So you can play with speed or you can play with resistance. Both are going to increase the challenge in a repetitious way to your muscles, and you're going to feel that cardio effect. And also, I actually really love the elliptical and really the bike for these reasons, because unlike when you're walking or jogging, which might go in that impact category for you, you're going to notice that there's a higher muscle requirement. And you guys know how Charlie and I are way biased on using more and more muscle, right? So you're going to feel like, oh, but I can't do as much because it's so much muscle requirement relative to like a jog or relative to a walk, right? You might only be able to do 10 minutes versus you could, somehow find a way to get through 20 minutes of, walking, whatever. But just give it some time, because it will be more fatiguing on your muscles, but in a good way. Your body will adapt, but you will get that really great cardio effect.
Yeah, the great thing about this first recommendation is it's very straightforward. Like, there's no guessing of like, oh, well, is my form correct? Or, it's like, okay, yeah, I guess you could use the machine, that you could do the cycle bike in a way that, your form isn't correct. But for most people, that's not going to be the case. It's a very straightforward thing. For most people, kind of getting on the elliptical and doing that is going to be a very, very straightforward thing, as opposed to doing things that I guess are just more technical in nature. Like, you say, okay, we're going to get on the elliptical, do that. Okay, cool. Like, most people are able to do that without needing somebody standing right by their side being like, okay, no, bend your hip this way, bend your, knee this way, whatever. Like, in a lot of ways, the machine just kind of takes you. And so that's a really important thing, because the more convenient you can make it, the fewer decisions you have to make, the easier, more streamlined it can be, the more likely it is that you're going to do. And when we're talking about like trying to improve your cardiovascular fitness, and like you're saying, Julie, like doing it with an increased resistance and increased challenge, that in and of itself, for most people, usually is not the most fun thing to do. So the fewer hurdles that we can put in the way of doing that thing, in terms of like, thinking about everything that needs to happen, you just get on the machine, do the thing, then it becomes a lot easier to do this consistently and actually build the cardiovascular changes that you're hoping to.
That's right. And you know how many times I talk to people that like to go for walks or runs, and they're like, I love walking and I love running because all you have to do is put your shoes on and go. Well, it's really the same thing. If you get on a certain cardio machine, like an elliptical or a bike, that, is like, you literally just get on the thing and you go, right? You're going to notice the higher workload. So then that's a different challenge in terms of like, oh, I have the mental strength to work through the challenge. But that's for a different day and a different story. But again, it has that component of, I just put my shoes on and maybe change my clothes and just go, right? You're not having to overthink it, like what Charlie said. So that is the first, probably most straightforward way of getting in cardio that is low impact. And when we're talking, I was thinking, swimming is like that too. Like, but yeah. I think swimming is not really put things on and go. I feel like it's like, you got to get a swimsuit, find a pool, get your flops on, get the whole thing. But anyways, moving forward. So doing some sort of preset cardio machine that you can just get on and go, but doesn't include that impact, is the first recommendation we have. The next recommendation that we have is to use your weight training in a specific way to get your heart rate up and get your heart challenged while you're doing your resistance training. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. The first is if you are actually truly lifting very, very heavy, it is impossible for you to not get a huge cardio effect. But if you've listened to our other podcasts, you may be on the journey to building to that. Maybe you aren't even lifting heavy enough yet. Like, you got your 4 Exercise for Life principles, but you're not quite to that heavy lifting where you're getting that cardio effect. So if you're really truly lifting heavy, it's going to happen, and you're not even going to have to try, except for try with the weights, and then you get the cardio and you're like, wow, this is so cardio. Like, how could I have missed this before? But if you're not at that place where you're really truly lifting close to your max and getting the cardio effect without even trying for the cardio effect, then the way that you stack your workout is going to really help you. The biggest thing that we've noticed is if you can do a circuit style weight training with minimal rest, this will bring about that cardio change that you want. So it might look like, let's say you have 5 exercises ready for your workout that day. You might go from exercise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, trying to have as minimal rest as possible and keeping your body moving as much as you can while you're not as much as you can, but keeping the rest periods short. That's what I mean. So going from one to the next to the next to the next with minimal rest, you're going to notice that there's a really nice cardio effect. And when you're weight training, that is very low impact exercise because you're moving with a lot of control and a lot of muscle involvement.
Exactly. Now, one big key with this is that you're keeping your rest times short. That doesn't mean that when you go and you do the exercise, you're moving fast. Like, I think people get that mistaken of like, okay, I'm going to move from one exercise to the next, and because I moved quickly from one exercise to the next, that means when I get to the next exercise, I'm doing that exercise. Now all of a sudden, I have to keep moving quickly. It's like, no, no, no. We're still following our 4 exercise for life principles. We're still going to be moving slowly while we're doing the exercise. And in order to, again, kind of increase the cardiovascular challenge, the cardiovascular demand, lift heavy while you're doing it. And then have minimal rest when you go to the next exercise. Move slowly, lift heavy. Move slowly, lift heavy. Go from one exercise to the next. You will definitely feel an increase in your cardiovascular requirements when you structure your workouts in that way. And again, it doesn't mean that while you're doing the exercise, you need to move fast. You just need to move fast and move quickly between each exercise. Go from one exercise to the next. Make sure that again, you're still following the 4 exercise for life principles. So you're not like, throwing your weights down, flinging your next ones up and you're right into it, right? Like you are using your symptom-free full range of motion. You're controlling your moving and non-moving parts. You're moving slowly. You're focusing on the muscle squeeze, and you're doing that for your set number of reps or set amount of time. And then you set, then the exercise is over. You set your weights down. Go into the next one, and you try to keep that time as short as possible, and that will keep the requirement on your heart higher.
So what's really cool about these 2 things, number 1, using some low impact cardio exercises, and number 2, using some circuit style training when you lift or using really heavy lifting, is that not only is it going to give you that cardio effect, you're going to get a much higher like fitness conditioning effect because you're doing more muscle related activities and more muscle related required movements. And so this will not only help your cardio, but it will also help protect your joints. A lot of times when we think about impact exercise, we think about wear and tear on our joints. And we know that the more that you're using more muscle as you do any type of repetitive action, which is everything in the gym really, the more protected your joints will be in the future. So this is also a really good long-term plan. It's also really great if you are comfortable with high impact exercises to mix it up and do some of these lower impact but still highly potent and highly effective exercises.
Exactly. Now, I do want to add in one point that's kind of like the next step after this conversation, and that's that there's a lot of value to doing high impact exercise, especially when it comes to bone density. So that what this conversation is not saying is you should avoid high impact exercise indefinitely. What we are saying is there are ways to get tremendous benefits for your cardiovascular system without doing high impact exercise. And as your body gets stronger, as your body gets in better physical condition, when you are ready, add in that high impact exercise because there is tremendous benefit from a bone density standpoint of being able to do high impact exercise. So again, this is not grounds to say, oh, you listen to this podcast and now you are free of having to do high impact exercise for the rest of forever. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is for the time being, if high impact exercise is bothersome to your body and you still want to increase your cardiovascular fitness, here are 2 ways you can go about it. And then through the process of doing this, as your body gets more accustomed to being stronger and in better physical condition, you are likely going to be able to tolerate doing high impact exercise better and better and better, at which point it would be appropriate to add back in to get the benefits of doing high impact exercise. So I just want to add that in as another thing as well. The other thing that really helps people not only through this process but transition into high impact exercise is muscle activation techniques, which is our specialty here at Muscle Activation Schaumburg. By getting your muscles and your brain communicating better with each other, your muscles are able to support your joints better. And then when you go and you work out or do any other activity throughout your day, your muscles are able to take care and protect your joints in the way that they are designed to. And so your joints don't feel that stress that they normally would, whether you're doing high impact exercise or, carrying boxes, doing stuff around your house, whatever that is. So again, that is our specialty here. If that's something that you would like to experience for yourself, All you need to do to see our availability and get on our schedule is go to our website, www.matschaumburg.com, click the big green button that says Get Started, and you can schedule yourself for your initial MAT consultation and assessment. Well, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We always appreciate your eyes on YouTube, your ears on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you consume our content. If you wouldn't mind leaving us a rating and review, it always means the world to us when you do. We are wishing you a fantastic week, and we'll talk with you all next week.
This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Julie and Charlie Gates, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.